Today, I'm taking a look at the Arris X80. It's an 80mm 1S micro brushless drone, and it's got an integrated FR Sky receiver, so it'll work with your Tyrannus right out the box. Alright, so let's take a look what you get in the box. I have actually opened this already. So you got your instruction manual, your 4-blade props. The drone itself actually came with the yellow propellers already on, but I took them off because I was having a play earlier. And you get 4 of the yellow 2-blade props for a longer flight time but less aggressive. Get your 500 milliamp LiPo and some rubber bands, a little USB charger, and some prop guards. So for my purposes, I'm going to leave the prop guards off. If you're going to be flying indoors a lot, then you'll want those on. But for me, I find brushless is a little bit fast for indoors, especially I've got quite a small flat, so it's not ideal for me. So I'll mainly be flying this outdoors. And I'm going to go with the 4-blade purple props because they'll match my flying style a little bit more aggressive freestyle kind of thing. So if we take a closer look at the drone itself, got some adorably tiny little brushless motors which look to be very well made. They are unbranded, so it's hard to find more info on them, but they seem great to me. We get a 4-in-1 ESC. It's 4 amps, so really only going to work with 1S batteries. Maybe you could do 2S, but personally I wouldn't want to try that. Especially because if you look under the board, you've got these tiny little wires coming off to your motors. So obviously they're not going to support a very high amp. Arris say this is designed for 1S only, so obviously best to go with that. Above we've got the tiny little beta flight controller. You can see the micro USB there. This is a F3 flight controller. It supports 8-channel S-bus with the built-in FR Sky receiver. The battery connection is a JST 2.0. This is also known as a power whoop connector, so if you've already got a few tiny whoops with the little power whoop batteries, they'll work on this too. This is the first 500 milliamp version I've seen. It's quite a bit larger than the ones I usually use. And Arris claim this can get you up to 10 minutes of flight time. The camera's a VM275T. This is the same one I've got on both of my tiny whoops, so nothing new for me here. It's a good low-cost camera. I've never had any issues with it really. It's nice that it does come with a little USB charger for the battery, so if you've not been using these type of batteries before, then you are ready to go. The setup for this drone, super simple. I actually filmed the whole thing, so I can tell you it took me 7 minutes to get it set up in beta flight and bound to the controller ready to go. That includes setting up all my switches. The only thing I would say is remember to plug in the battery when you're plugging in via USB to set up in beta flight, because without the battery, Windows wouldn't recognize it properly for me. It's a quick test of the camera quality indoors. It's as expected, to be honest. I've used this camera before. It works just fine. And I'll have a quick indoor buzz around my little flat. Sorry about the mess, but hey. Alright, everything seems good, so let's take it outdoors and give it a proper thrashing. It's a bit horrible in the UK right now. It's 3 to 5 degrees C outside, and we've got 5 mph winds with 60 mph gusts. So, not too bad, but it will challenge it a little bit. Okay, so this is all stock. All I did was set up my switches in beta flight. And my initial impressions were just how smooth this thing was. It really handles well. It's got a nice tune straight out the box and a lot of raw power, more power than I was expecting considering it's only a 1S battery. So yeah, I'm just cruising around now, just getting a feel for the movements of the drone. And we're flying in acro mode right now, or air mode. The thing that's always frustrated me with my 7mm whoops is that there's not enough power to pull out of acro maneuvers very well, and you do, as soon as you enter a roll or a flip, you drop quite fast. Whereas with this one, it's not the case at all. The handling is completely different. You can just pull straight out of a roll or a flip and you lose hardly any altitude whatsoever. Feels a lot more like a tiny 5-inch than a micro quad. It's just so much fun. I had a great time whipping this around and started to get a bit cocky with it actually, considering I only just started flying it. And here I make a mistake. Here I decided to go for a big dive and just see if the motors would be able to pull me out of it and stop me efficiently. But I forgot that my antenna was pointing straight up, so of course I was flying right above myself. Fail-safed hard into the ground, one of the hardest crashes I ever had. So let's take a look at how it held up. That was a scary moment. So amazingly, even falling from such a great height into concrete, it's pretty much the worst situation. The only damage we sustained, we snapped the 3D printed mount off the standoffs and we bent the props, but props are fine, they're very high quality props, we just bent them back into shape. And yeah, the 3D printed mount will be fine, so I'll just glue that back on and we'll hopefully get back out there. Alright, everything seems fine, so let's go for another quick flight. Now this is one of my favourite spots, it's right around the corner from my house. Video signal's always very bad here because it's a very Wi-Fi saturated area, so you do get a lot of dropouts. So there's no bad reflection on the camera, it's always the same. But yeah, here I was just amazed by the speed of this thing. Like I've never flown something so small and so fast in this location, and it made it difficult to do a lot of my maneuvers, but that's just down to my skill as a pilot rather than the product itself. It is just super fun. I can tell already that I'm going to be flying this thing a lot. And of course, being me, crashed it again, so I'm going to call it a night. So final thoughts on the Arris X80. It's around £99 on Amazon. I think that's a completely fair price. I think you would definitely struggle to build one of this quality for the same price. I love the size of it. It's so small and got a lot of power. I love that it runs 1S because the batteries are super cheap. I already have a lot of them and the flight times seem great. I've not pushed it to the limit yet, but I'm definitely able to get 5 minutes out of it, and I'm sure I could go a bit further than that with the 500 mAh battery that's included. The only niggles I've got, the pigtail for the battery I feel like is just too short. Maybe there's a reason for this. You obviously don't want to get that caught in your propellers. I don't like how far forward the battery has to sit for you to be able to use this. It's only a minor thing. I could swap it out for a longer one, no problem, and I might do that. But it would be nice for it to be maybe a centimetre longer or so. The motor wires are not fastened down in any way. They're cut to such a precise length that they stay where they're intended to be. But for me, just for a bit of peace of mind and extra protection, I put some electrical tape around these. But it's completely up to you whether you bother to do that as well. So that's about it. If you're looking for a brushless micro for around the £100 mark, I think the Arris X80 is an absolutely fantastic option, and I definitely don't hesitate to recommend it. Thanks for watching. Keep an eye out for more reviews, tutorials, etc. coming soon. Do us a favour, hit that subscribe button and add my mum on Facebook. Peace.